We are just having a much better day in the markets today. We are seeing the markets mostly up in the greens. We see the stock market, S&P 500, up about 0.3%, Bitcoin up over 1%, Ethereum up over 1%, total 3 actually up way more than about 2%. This is huge. So when Bitcoin is on a uptrend like this, even in the shorter term, altcoins, you're gonna see altcoins start jumping. Okay, so I think it is gonna be a good time to be talking about meme coins. Are meme coins about to make a comeback? It's gonna depend a lot on Bitcoin, of course, and Bitcoin right now is looking. I'm I'm still long on Bitcoin. Okay, I am long on Bitcoin. I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here, including Ethereum. And what I think is, I am still bullish on Bitcoin, but these, of course, are just my opinions. And the main reasons why I am bullish on Bitcoin is I've been mentioning this. It's because we're about to start a rate cut cycle, as we are seeing for the FOMC meeting that is going to be happening July 17th, at least the press conference. We're still having a 100% probability of an ease right now. So we're just looking at either a 25 basis points or 50 basis points. I think a 25 basis point is not, I think that's going to be a better sign, because if we actually go with the 50 basis point, that might scare the markets. But, if we actually go gradually on a 25 basis point every meeting or every other meeting, I don't think that is going to be too shocking to the markets. And I think that would still be good with fueling this bull market with cheaper money, as we have seen back in 2021, in the 2010s, when interest rates were low. Of course, that is one of the main reasons why I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. There are a few reasons other than that too, just based on technical reasons, right? I have mentioned it in my last video, longer video. You guys could check that out. I'm not gonna sound like a broken record, but I'll bring it up when it's convenient. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a. We are seeing a few. I am still going to mention a few mixed signals on the lower time frames, like the weekly time frame. Okay, so very important for Bitcoin to break out of this rising wedge pattern, because rising wedges are bearish patterns, and if this rising wedge for Bitcoin breaks down, the breakdown target is still pretty steep if it breaks out by this point here, for example. So breakdown target would be about almost 75,000. Quite a bit of support along the way. I'm not sure. I really don't think, even if this thing breaks down, is going to get to 77,000, 76,000, because we have quite a bit of moving averages along the way that has still yet been hit. So I do expect them to be pretty strong support, including the weekly 50 SMA that's at about 97,000, daily 200 SMA that's at about above 100K now. Okay, so some things to be looking out for. That is the weekly time frame. Daily time frame here is there. There could still be some bullish upside here. Okay, and we're gonna get to the news real quick too after this, and of course some altcoin setups, which includes Toshi Memecoin and Toshi Memecoin and Book of Meme. Okay, boom. So we're gonna be getting into that later in this video. Before I get too carried away with some of these more macro indicators like Bitcoin. Now, daily time frame here. Falling wedge, 121.5K price target. Price targets are estimates only. Okay, so something to be mindful of. Very important for Bitcoin to break out of this rising wedge to the upside, because that is still possible, but even though it has a smaller chance, of course, right? Let's take a look into some news first before I get too off tangent with my regular scheduling here. So let's take a look into this piece here, Coinpedia. This is a new can Bitcoin price really hit 200K in 2025? Tom Lee thinks so. I think 200K is still within the cards here. I've seen Bitcoin do some pretty crazy shit pretty quickly. Especially back in that December 2020 breakout there. I think it almost doubled in a night. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember that was a pretty crazy day. So, I mean, I think 200K is definitely within the cards. In terms of probability, I think it's maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna say. I think it's still somewhat likely. Okay, so yeah, so you want to be rooting for Bitcoin if you're holding altcoins, because if Bitcoin pumps, that's very good for the altcoins, and if Bitcoin dumps, that's very bad for the altcoins. Now, next piece here is Bitcoin on the edge. Will Bitcoin break out or face a fake out after tight consolidation? So I mean, I basically pretty much pointed you guys to that, right? Weekly time frame. Very important that we don't get a steep breakdown if we actually break down. However, it's gonna look a lot better if Bitcoin breaks out of that rising wedge. Let's take a look into the next piece here, which is Cointelegraph SEC approval of listing standards can mainstream crypto ETFs. Yeah, I think that's very bullish for the crypto markets in general, because remember when we got that Bitcoin ETF and the markets just went crazy, because I mean that's gonna pull a lot of money into the crypto markets. But imagine we get a lot more ETFs for these smaller altcoins, like even Litecoin, like even some of those bigger altcoins. Okay, I mean that's really gonna feel this the mainstreaming of this crypto market, and that's definitely bullish. So something to be watching out for. Next piece here is by Dow Jones Newswire. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP rise. What's driving crypto gains? Barons.com. Well, I think one of the main reasons is because it looks like the Fed is very likely to lower rates. We do have a few more things coming out before the FOMC meeting, which includes the CPI report that's coming out this week. I really don't think that's gonna change the probabilities much, because the labor market is not looking good based on the quite a few jobs report that has been coming out and has been getting more notice about its revisions downwards. Okay, and unemployment is also at 4.3% last time I checked. So I think that's going to be enough of a reason for the Fed to lower rates. Now, next piece here is by Crypto News. Billionaire Michael Saylor purchases 1955 Bitcoin for 217 million. About their new highs coming soon. Yeah, I mean, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin, like I said. But that's my opinion and not financial advice. You guys gotta form your own opinions. I am long on this market still, so I mean that's what I'm saying too. All right, let's come over here to an altcoin chart. I want to point you guys to, and this is going to be a very important chart to be paying attention to while Bitcoin is stabilizing. Okay, so this is the total three chart, and when Bitcoin is looking good and more stable, or on an uptrend, then this is my focus to be shifting to, because it's very important for total three, which is total altcoin market cap excluding Ethereum, to break out of this huge pattern here. Let's come over to the monthly time frame here, which is a huge cup and handle pattern, which is a bullish pattern that usually breaks to the upside. The resistance here is going to be about 1.15 trillion. If Total 3 can break out of this pattern, which has been forming since 2021, okay? If Total 3 breaks out of this pattern, that's when this alt season is going to get super heated, okay? Price target here is going to be about 2 trillion. There is there are some bearish signals here, including bearish divergence on this monthly time frame. I think even on the weekly time frame. But just from my own observations, I do see that that altcoins actually are more likely to invalidate bearish divergence. Let me point out to you guys one example. Okay. And one example was back here in from December 2023, and basically these weekly candles going from about February 2024 to, I think, yeah, I mean, just that February 2024, right? There has been bearish divergence, but the bulls just kept invalidating it and just kept going, right? So could this be a case for total three? I mean, that is something to consider, right? And I want to point out to you guys something else on a lower time frame is that total three actually broke out of this downtrend here, right? This lower high downtrend on this daily time frame. So could this be the start of something significant? I think it could be, right? So something to be just paying attention to get a uh, um, just an early signal. Okay, so let's take a look into meme coins, right? Let's take a look into meme coins. We're gonna be taking a look into Toshi first and see what's happening in Toshi. Let's take a look into the weekly time frame. Take a quick recap here. Okay, so I've talked about Toshi on this weekly time frame about a possible cup and handle scenario that could be forming. Um, I'm gonna take that back because it looks like it's the rounded bottoms got invalidated with the last week's candle close. Okay, so it's no longer a rounded bottom because rounded bottoms imply a higher low. Now, but even though it's invalidated, that idea is invalidated on the weekly time frame. I think that is still possible on the monthly time frame. If Toshi can come up here to about zero point 0.1 cents to retest this resistance two more times, this could be a cup and handle on the monthly time frame. But when these meme coins get really or altcoins get really bullish, they could just go through the resistance. I've seen that, right? So I mean, it might not even have to form a cup and handle before a breakout here. So something to just keep an eye out on, right? Let's take a look into the daily time frame. I do want to mention that I have invalidated some of these patterns that I've talked about for Toshi, BOME, MOG, because they've just been getting beaten down and has actually broken through some of those patterns I've talked about. Okay, even though they were falling wedges, I think some of them where they have a higher probability of breaking to the upside, but nothing in this market is 100%. This is a game of probabilities, right? Even though falling wedges have a higher chance of breaking to the upside, they still have a smaller chance of breaking down. So those are the downsides you got to consider when you're in this game. So Toshi here, daily time frame, okay, falling wedge pattern, uh, adjusted pattern here, and price target, if it breaks out by this point, will give Toshi a price target of about 0.00085. Okay, now price targets again are estimates only, very much depends on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts dumping, these altcoin setups are not going to be worth much. And it's also very important to learn how to chart yourselves, because what you're seeing here, you don't want to just see a snapshot of a chart in time, okay? Because the chart could evolve as more data comes in. Charts could get invalidated, develop, evolve, and you have to learn how to update the charts constantly as new data comes out, right? Otherwise, if a pattern gets invalidated and you don't know how to chart, then you're gonna get lost, and I mean, then that's not gonna be good. So yeah, this is what I'm seeing for Toshi. Let's go ahead and go to Book of Memes, see what's happening with BOME USDT. Weekly time frame. Falling wedge pattern, still valid. Let's move this price target down a little bit because it might not be breaking out by next week, but who knows? Price targets for this one, if it breaks out by this point, for example, price target would be about 1.6 cents for Book of Meme. So there could still be a possible cup and handle scenario here if Book of Meme can come up here to retest this resistance about two more times, right? It forms a rounded bottom, and then two more times here for the handle, right? And this resistance is going to be about 0.33 cents or 0.34 cents, just to be a little bit more rounded here. So this is basically what I'm seeing for a Book of Meme. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame. Probably the 4-hour time frame. You can see a clearer look. 4-hour time frame, falling wedge pattern, broke to the upside. Price target for this breakout here is going to be about 0.2. It's almost 0.23 cents price target. Okay, let's see if Book of Meme can hit this price target before breaking out of that bigger falling wedge pattern. Okay. Now let's take a look into MOG coin and see what's happened with MOG coin. MOG coin here. Let's take a quick recap. Weekly time frame, falling wedge pattern, broke out of this bigger falling wedge pattern back in April. Okay, that was basically the bounce for a lot of crypto when the tariffs, when the tariffs news sank the market from the beginning of the year, and after the market kind of digested, the news, we finally got a rebound point from April. Okay, that was a pretty scary time as well, because Bitcoin went down to as far as almost about 75,000, right? Now, MOG coin broke out of this falling wedge pattern. And the price target would be about 5 zeros and 245. That is still a valid breakout because the price action is still above this upper trend line of this pattern it broke out of. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame here, daily time frame. I talked about a rising wedge pattern for MOG coin, which is a bearish pattern that it broke down. Breakdown target would be about 6 zeros and 4.2. Will MOG coin get there? Well, it has also formed a falling wedge pattern since the breakdown here. And I would say that, it's going to look less likely to get there if it can actually break out of this falling wedge pattern. Okay. That would be a start of, it could, right? It could mean that this is invalidating the breakdown, but I wouldn't say completely yet unless MOG coin can actually break back into the rising wedge pattern, then that would be a more for sure sign, right? But breaking out this falling wedge pattern would be at least a good start for the bulls, but it's not 100%. It's invalidating that breakdown. Now, the price target for this falling wedge pattern would be about 5 zeros and 1 7. Okay, so let's see if MOG coin can hit that price target and invalidates this breakdown here. I would be looking for daily candle closes for back within that bigger rising wedge pattern. Solid daily candle closes within that rising wedge pattern to say that this is completely invalidated, this breakdown. Okay, but there are a few signs I could also say that that could increase the chance of this breakdown just coming to an end, but not 100%. So this basically wraps it up for today's video on these coins. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of Toshi, BOME, MOG, Memecoins, any other altcoins in this market by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. I'll pick a request to do for you guys on a daily basis. I'll see you on the next one.